What do you guys expect that we're going to see this year out of the Niner offense? And I bring this up because I thought the cut down was extremely revealing. The Niners are trying to carry 5 backs, 4 tight ends, and a fullback on their 53. They're also going deep on the offensive line, very deep on the offensive line. You look at their backs, they're averaging about 214 pounds. You've got some bigger bodied tight ends. They're one of only maybe 2/3 of the league have a fullback. They're one of the teams that carries a fullback. Ty Davis Price is about 220. Jordan Mason maybe closer to 230, 225 in that range. John Lynch said this week, we got a great coaching staff, and it starts with our head coach. He's a great play caller, but it's not all about scheme. At some point, you got to impose your will on people. And then he kind of sounded like he's learned from some of his failed draft picks, Dante Pettis and the like, saying some of our early picks that didn't pan out. You say, why didn't they pan out? And then probably a rebound effect. Okay, we're gonna go get thick, strong, and tough players, and you start seeing it. So what do you think? I mean, the 49ers, it seems like the whole game plan here is to have a run-heavy scheme in Trey Lance's first year. What's your read on the way the roster was pared down?
I think you nailed it. I think that this is going to be a heavy team. I think that that's probably been a long time coming. Add in the fact that one of their wide receivers, arguably their best wide receiver, an all-pro last year, he's a big, thick boy that you want to line up in the backfield. You want him carrying the ball between the tackles. There's not a lot of finesse about this operation. Trey Lance found that out in week 5 last year against Arizona. He has been the best athlete in Marshall, Minnesota, in Fargo, North Dakota. I mean, he has been the dude his entire life, and he shows up at the NFL level. And at training camp last year, he was kind of the dude. I mean, he played up against some pretty good players, don't get me wrong, but like Nick Bosa wasn't really around. Get Fred Warner kind of in and out. And then he shows up Arizona week 5. Cardinals are cooking, right? They got a good buzz to him at that juncture in the season. And he tucks the ball to run it, and he finds out pretty quickly he's not running past the defensive ends, much less the linebackers or the safeties. I mean, he found out that the second level is not guaranteed in the run game when you're Trey Lance. That's the first time in his life that happened. So what does Trey Lance have as a runner that other quarterbacks don't? Because he is not going to be a terribly elusive runner. He's got some toughness. He's got some serious smarts to him. And so you build around that. You build around the physicality of your football team. There's also this, there's a beauty to it as well, where Robert Griffin III, who Kyle Shanahan had when they were in Washington, he got totally injured. They ran the read option. Robert Griffin III was, won the Heisman, obviously, but then is this big deal. He was kind of going to take the league by storm, a lot like what Lamar Jackson sort of did with Baltimore a few years later. But RG3 and the read option, that was a big deal. And then RG3's body just couldn't take it. This is why Texas recruited him to be a safety. I think with Trey Lance, they could run the triple option. They could run the read option at the NFL level and be really successful with it. But it's not going to be sort of this lightning quick speed stuff. This is going to be between the tackles, knocking off a player or two as you push forward. And, Trey's on a cheap deal. He's on that rookie contract. They have Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup. That's a really good place to be. I think that they are going to really test the physical limits of Trey Lance. I think they're going to test all of the running backs that they kept on the roster. They're probably going to find a couple of more. I think that they're going to really push George Kittle as a blocker. I think that this offensive line doesn't pass protect very well, but it does run block really well, and we saw that in the preseason. I've seen it at training camp. I think that Kyle Shanahan puts more pressure on his wide receivers than any other coach in the NFL to be great blockers, and I think they just gave Deebo Samuel a bunch of money and a bunch of contingencies that say he can still run the ball. I think they're going full Woody Hayes with this. I don't know if they put the ball in the air unless they absolutely have to, and I think they get away with it. I think that they are just going to run. They're going to be a more physical version of that Baltimore offense that we saw a couple of years ago when Lamar Jackson won MVP. And while I don't think Trey Lance is really going to be in that conversation, I do think it's going to be really fun to watch, and I think it's going to really test Kyle and his play calling abilities because it's just going to be a different dynamic. It's not going to be that sort of, roll out play action that they have been running year over year. I think it's going to be a completely different offense, and I think it has a chance to be really prolific, and I think it's going to make games go by really fast, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to.